Hello and welcome to this arty corner on YouTube. Arty Adventures. I need to remember to change the name. I have on my blog, and I'm recording this because I don't know how long it's going to take me, and I'd like to focus on Inktober Tangles for the next month in the hope that I will produce videos on a regular basis, get back into the swing of things. Inktober Tangles is a challenge that's hosted every year by, I will tell you who now. It's by Stephanie Jennifer, who's a CZT, and I think everything is found on. Let me check on my social media. I should have looked this up first, shouldn't I? Have I still got it there? 7F5R Challenge on Facebook, and you can download the document, the PDF about this year's Tangles. And there's one for each day. And today it starts with Ambler, which is a tangle that's deconstructed by Zentangle themselves. So before I get on to that, firstly, a huge thank you for those who've subscribed, who've helped to get this channel to over 3,000 subscribers. A big welcome to everybody who haven't welcomed here. I appreciate you all very much. I'm going to tell my story again because I don't know who watches my lives, but I started this channel, I don't know how many years ago, as a way to help me put into words what goes on in my head. I'm not aware of my thoughts. I'm not aware that I think in words. I ruminate in words. I'll beat myself up in my mind in words. I'll have conversations about conversations I need to have or had in my head, but actually thoughts and processing things, I don't quite know how that happens, whether it's just so fast I don't notice it, or whether I'm one of these people. Well, I think I'm one of these people who thinks in abstracts and ideas and symbols and things like that that aren't necessarily there. It just happens. And to get me to speak about things, to force me to talk my thoughts out, as well as writing it down, because I do keep a journal, not daily as I used to, but I do keep a journal. And I always said, if I get one subscriber, I'm happy. But to get to 3,000, it's amazed me. So thank you ever so much. And for the stalwarts who leave comments and messages, and for people who just drop by and say, I like what you're doing, thank you so much. It means so much, because I love art and I love to share it. So that was that out the way. Oh, by the way, if you're here and you haven't subscribed, please do click on the notifications button and you'll get to know when I'm doing live streams and when I'm uploading videos, which fingers crossed this one won't take 6 years like the last have. So I've spent just a few minutes creating a sketchbook just for the Inktober. I've disc bound it. I've got a special hole punch that creates these mushroom shaped holes. And so that means, and I love this, I ought to do this all the time instead of buying ready-made sketchbooks. Seriously, I am so dull at times. Dull meaning daft, silly, stupid. At times that I forget about this because I can choose what paper I put in these. I can change the paper, I can change the sizes. But this is Canson Imagine paper, which is my current favourite one. And I've just cut the A4 pages down to half to A5. Punch them here, use 6 little disc ring binders. It's a disc binder, discs. They're not rings, they're discs. And these ones they're not, if you buy ones that are generic, they're relatively inexpensive. And you can get them with fancier, like little heart cutouts and things like that in them. You can have them made from metal. You can have particular brand names, but they all work the same way with the same disc punch, same punch. I bought one years ago from Staples, from their ARC range, which I don't know whether they're still doing or not. And I found that, it was expensive when I bought it, but I'm not sure how much they are to buy now. So I am going to draw my borders in using a pencil, just gently. And each one it's going to be the same. I'm going to use 1/2 inch. I could use centimetres, but I happen to have 1/2 inch here, or roughly 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be exact. But because I like to use a T-square ruler, and this T-square ruler kindly has scales here so I can work out how much to the edge, which makes life ever so easy for me. It's close enough. And perfectly straight lines, so you don't have to put dots everywhere. This is the one where I may go a little more than 1/2 inch. Let's see what it's like with 1/2 inch. Yeah, I think actually we're not too close to the holes, so that's okay. So that gives a nice space to work within. And my first job, and I'm going to do this on each and every one, is I'm going to draw a border in because I can. And I'm using an 05 Unipin pen here. I've got an 05 and an 01 out, but I think I saw an 03 over here. I have got an 03 as well, if that one works. It's no guarantee. I've got a pot of pens here that were lurking on my desk. I thought, oh, I've now got a pot free because I bought some art tote baskety things for organising coloured pencils, and I did one yesterday that has some of my watercolour pens in. Not all of them, some of them, because I filled it up on my Pit Artist pens, because to keep them in boxes and things, it's an absolute pain in the posterior to look for them, find them, keep them organised, finding space on the desk to keep them out. I haven't got a very big desk I work on. Perhaps that'll change in time. I will do a cover for this, but I think I might create the cover at the end of Inktober rather than the beginning. Now my lines are wobbly, slightly, just slightly wobbly, and I'm fine with that because part of me wants to add some embellishments on this as well. And I'm going to start doing it, but I'm not going to go all the way round. I'm just going to add these 3 little humps at random because I just think it helps to break up that edge nicely and adds a little bit of interest. Am I going to colour those central bits in? I don't know. And perhaps I'll put more than one set on a section and perhaps have them close together. They're all different sizes because they can be. And I'll do some over here. Oh, let's have some around the middle-ish. Middle-ish. Like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another line around them. Now this is not Ambler. This is just me creating a quick border around the page for today. And if you're familiar with me, I do find it fun to explore or work on variations on a theme, on a pattern or a motif. It's just something I like to do. That's interesting. I left gaps between them here. That's fine. It's perfectly fine. Same shape, slightly different arrangement. But it's okay. It works. Remember, sketchbook, sketchbook. Though, once I finish this, if you're interested, I may scan it all in and put it together as a booklet you can download. Okay, so let me know if you're interested in that. So today is 1st of October. So I am just going to put some pencil lines here so I can have some tidy lettering, so the lettering won't go off all wonky, because it's nice to have the name, isn't it, and things. And I'm going to use a finer pen because I'll draw the letters in. Oh, this is an 03. Fingers crossed this is a decent 03. Ambler. And then I'm just going to make this add a little bit smaller. It's not because Zentangle aren't as important, but I want the name to be predominant. Zentangle. As entangling, and then in this corner here, just take that down. Oops, not that. Use a pencil, Angela. There. And I'll make it roughly squarish shaped. And I'm going to put the number of the day in there. So it is number 1. We are on day 1. So roughly in the middle of that square. These will all erase afterwards. Now, if I want to afterwards, I may go back and thicken some of these lines to give some interest to the lettering. But for now, it's okay because, it's nice. I like, it feels like I've got an intention here to do something that's interesting. So I am going to start off with, I'm not going to use my ruler for this, but I'm going to start off with a line. Perhaps it's actually, definitely not using my ruler, am I? I'm deliberately curving it and making it go perhaps a little bit wider and get it to go down and touch there and perhaps come back narrower again. And I'm going to draw Ambler. So I will try to zoom in, fingers crossed this works. Sometimes it takes just a moment for this to catch up with me, doesn't it? Yeah, doesn't it always? To unfocus. Well, the autofocus works, so the zapper's working. It's just that the camera doesn't want to zoom in at the moment. Not to worry. Hopefully you can see. You can always, make your screen as big as you can. Ambler is quite a simple pattern. And it starts with a straight line. My lines aren't always going to be straight, so I'm drawing it like a square down. And then this last line, I'm going to finish, but not touch that. I'm not completing the square. Put it this way. Hopefully I can keep my hand out the way. And then from this point, I'm going to continue to draw lines inside this rather rectangular square until I get to a point where I can't make it any thinner. Now, the usual way to do Ambler is to do another one with a little gap between it. So I'm going to do that for a little while. And yet I'm going to fill the whole of this line in. But then I also have space for some variations. Now, the number of times I can go round will vary depending on how much of a gap I left. Try this again, see if I can zoom in because it's bugging me. No. Right. Excuse me, I hope you don't get seasick. We're going wonky. All right? Just a bit like that. That's okay? Yeah. I'll just make sure that we are autofocused. There we are. If all else fails, let's move the camera support thingy. So it doesn't matter, it looks a little bit different, but when we've got all of them together, it'll be fine. Hopefully that will stop this from moving in and out. So I'll do another couple the same way. My mind's already going over. I've got images of variations I can do, so I'm hoping my mind will stop with them or will allow me to remember them. I'm just going to turn my paper a little bit to make it that little bit easier for me to draw on it. And for what I want to do now, I've got 4, so I think 5's always a nice number. I do like odd numbers of things. Our eyes, our brain and eyes, well, our brain, as we see with our brain, our eyes just send the information to our head to make sense of what light's going into our eyes. When it sees 5 of something or 3 of something or 7 odd numbers, it can't split them up into groups of even numbers. And so it sees them more as a group rather than trying to make sense of it and organise things. And I quite like that. Yes, I know it could put it in groups of 3 and 2, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. It prefers to see it as a, because there's so many options of how you do that. Whereas if you've got a group of 4, you can split them in half and, you know, all sorts of things. So what I think I'm going to do here, though, I do want something that gives me a break between this section and the next. So I'm going to do 2 smaller ones here. And I'm going to draw them with that line starting on the same side, like so. Like so. So that gives me that feeling that we've now got a break. So I'm going to carry on here. I'm going to draw another one, same way as before. And then for the next one, I'm going to start away from it and I'm going to mirror this. Except, did you see I joined them together? I've joined that together, I'm using the same line. But this should give an interesting kind of key shape. And I'm going to use this line as the beginning, down, around, up, and so on the same way, as in a mirror reflection. And then we'll do the same thing here. So I'm using this as the start line, along, down, up, down, up, down, down. So this will be my next section. Have I done that right? No, I haven't. I didn't, did I? I got so far and I got confuddled. So I think I need to go. It's this way, isn't it? Yeah. I have to think carefully because I'm talking. I'm not paying attention to what I'm thinking. That's better. So this one then will go. I went this way round, so now I need to go the other way round. It does take some thought, doesn't it? My head, it seems so simple, but in reality, it's not that simple. I can get you to go up like that. So I've gone clockwise round that way, so now I want to go anti-clockwise, which is this way. That's better. The fact there's a mistake there isn't an issue. I don't think. I started off okay, did I? Yeah. No. No, I did. Yes. Yes, I did. And then I got lost here, but it's fine. So I'm also going to put another little place where I can put some small ones in just to separate this out. This time I can put 3 in. And I'm going to do these in a mirrored fashion again. So it's easier for me to see here. I've started that way, so I'm now going to start this way. There. And then we need to start this way, so I'm going to go back this way. That's not worked either, is it? That's different. No, it's different. I just don't know what I'm doing. I like that idea there. Okay, let's carry on. I'm joining them together. I'm not leaving these gaps here. Why is that happening? Why am I not getting a gap? And yet I'm getting that mirrored version. Let's see. So perhaps how did I do that? think I know how. Do I? Start here. No, I don't. I think it's because I did that. I don't know. If anybody can make sense of that, please tell me. So here I need to go. I went that way, so I need to go the other way now, don't I? From this side, down that way, back up. And here I've actually connected that central one in. So here I'm going to start this way. I'm going to go across to here. Quite like that idea of having something in the middle. So here's going to be interesting because I'm going to be going around the end of this. But I've still got that little bit in the middle there. I am going to close the lines on these just to see what happens. I can't work out how. I'm going to have to think really hard about what I've done here. That's interesting. So these here, I'm going to fill these in black. I can't work out what I've done wrong. I'm usually really good with rotating patterns, but this is vexing me no end. Let me tell you. Mind you, it's not hard to vex me with such things. That's okay then. What I also would like to do is I am going to connect this one there, as that seems to be something that would make sense. And I think I'm going to go back and connect these in this kind of way. So I'll have gaps between them that I could do something with. I'm not going, I think I'm going to keep these separate, kind of, but I am going to close them off as well. I'll do the same with these. Though I could have put pretty ends on them, pretty caps on the gaps. Caps on the gaps. Sorry, that tickled me. There you are, and I finished that one off there. So I will come back. I can do this, can't I? So that looks like it's over there. And here I may just do some pretty connectors. How about that? Just between these, just to show that there's meant to be a change in pattern. Because I can. And it feels like these are joined together then, like somehow something's holding them together. Almost like a strange bracelet or necklace where we've got variations on a theme. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to play with line thickness because I really want to use thickness to help to bring some dimension in. So I'm going to go to the lines that are to the right, or to the left, sorry, in the bottom of each of these in this way, kind of, like so. So I'll have that thicker and that thicker. Here, that's the left side. This is the right side. That's the bottom. Right, and another bottom. Not very well joined, but they'll do. Like so. Left, that's the right now. And the bottom, which I'll try and tidy up. Left, bottom, left, bottom. That would be a left, wouldn't it? Would it? No, it wouldn't. That's fine as it is. So that then is left. This is that's the right, that's the right, that's the left. We'll get there. Like so. Sorry if the light's just gone crazy. The sun's decided to bring itself out of sunshine, which is out of sunshine from behind the clouds, which is lovely, but annoying. Up, need to join those. And then again, it's that thick line here to the right, bottom, not right, left. I don't know my left from my right. I've had a 2-hour Welsh lesson this morning. Last night I was spending time with some people I know out in Ammanford, which is about 40-50 miles away from me. And I didn't get home till nearly 11 o'clock at night. And by the time I had something to eat, because I didn't have a chance to eat until before I left, because I'd forgotten I was going. Thank goodness I'd set a 2-hour reminder on my phone for it. So it's a quick dash, bath, dress, and off, because it'd take me about an hour and 40 minutes to get there in the rush hour. Because my sat nav took me a very strange way. It was very pretty, but I wasn't going that way on the way back. So I elected to go a longer route round. But my petrol consumption was much better. So I used less petrol on the longer journey back home than I did on the shorter one there. So I'm a bit concerned about that. Not so much about price, but about the environmental cost, I suppose. Right, so what I'm doing here is the same idea, left and right, left and bottom. I keep saying that. And I'm going to do the same here, right the way along. I'm going to put, in fact, I can go all the way along the bottom of these because they're all going to be shadowed or thicker lines like so. Okay. And then it's rinse and repeat, as it were. Left and right. Oh, bottom and left. Bottom, left. That's the left. And again, we've got a right there. So we have rights between these ones. And then another right here. Well, not right, left. So don't even know what I'm saying. This wasn't such a good idea. Just goes to show that we all make mistakes, don't we? I don't know why I made that so thick. Shouldn't have done that. It's okay. Left. Left again. Oh, sorry, I thought I was about to sneeze. I most probably will in a moment. Right. So bottom, left, bottom, left. Yeah, I know it looks like top and left, but I know what I'm doing. Sometimes it's easier to see. I actually think I need a good sleep, but I think I've got a delivery coming, so it looks like it may rain at some point. I don't want it left on my doorstep, do I? Not if I can help it. Some of these are very wobbly and wonky. You know, I have just done 2 hours of Welsh. It's no excuse, but it is because I really am enjoying my Welsh lessons, but it's quite, even though I'm doing it online, it's still quite peoply for me. And sometimes when we're all speaking together, as the tutor wants to hear us all speaking and pick up if anything needs to be gone over again or a particular pronunciation needs to be practiced more, it can be overwhelming with the noise and the different voices. And I got to the point today where I couldn't get anything out of my mouth because my mind was just overloaded by it, overwhelmed. And but it's fine. I did what I could. And having lived in Wales for so long, I'm pretty good at pronunciation. You know, it doesn't mean I'm perfect, far from it, but I'll get there. It's really interesting because the tutor puts in a lot of information about origins of words and the history of how they've changed and where they came from. And, and I just find that really interesting. Names of places, which I like to look up, but I don't always think. Things like llan nowadays means like church. but it was originally meant a monastic enclosure, of some kind or other. And it's become to mean church or parish now, but it's still interesting. Well, I think so. That's just one example from today. And that makes it even more interesting for me. So there's that. I'll add some shading later on. I'm not going to do it now. But here, what I thought I'd do next is I've got space here, haven't I? And I'm going to add a pencil line here, just so I don't accidentally butt up against this, because I'm going to do a variation on Ambler. And what I might do here in this section, I could go quite small and titchy. That's a word I haven't used for many a year, titchy, meaning small. Call blimey, that's a blast from my past. In Welsh, we'd say dutty, meaning very little. If you describe someone as a dut, it's not the same as dot, it's a dut, it means tiny. Dutty person. There we go. So I'm going to put some variation, some Ambler up there. And I, th- I think, come back to that. I've got some space here to actually work on variations. So I am going to just split this up, and I'm going to give myself some space between the variations because I've thought of some. Because this is basically a square of spiral. I'm not going to do round spirals because there is a pattern for that already, isn't there? Look at that. I'm going to have some chunky things here. And I may for this just swap or switch to a finer nibbed pen, because I think some of the shapes I do might not have so much space in them. But let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way because it doesn't matter what way you work on Ambler, it will work out. Let me move my ruler out the way. Okay. Oh, I don't want the O1, I wanted the O3. The O1 is a bit too fine, to say the least. So I'm going to start here. But instead of creating something that's more like a square, I'm going to do this more like a very narrow rectangle. And along the longer lines, I'm going to make the gap between the lines narrower, but wider at the short ends, if that makes sense. And I'll fill all of this in the same way. In fact, I'm going to change. Now I've drawn one, and I am going to leave the gaps between them this time. I've got to remember what I said I was going to do myself here, haven't I? Okay, come on, Angela. Let's get your head together, girl. Narrow on the long edges, wider at the short. It's the size of the gap. But they are going to end up looking different because there's no way me, a mere mortal, can replicate things with machine accuracy. I'm sure there are plenty of people who can, but that's not me. I've learnt to embrace my humanity, as it were, or my human imperfections. That one does really stand out as a bit of an odd one, but it's practice. I've never drawn it like this before. In fact, I don't think I've ever drawn Ambler. It's not a tangle I would automatically go to, a pattern I would automatically go to. This is a pattern that's found in antiquity, Greek vases. I'm not sure if it's found in Egyptian temples, but it may be. and things like that. So it's all very interesting. Oh, come on, computer, you've decided to go to sleep. I'm really going to have to look at this. Not sleep. We'll put a screensaver on. It's all a bit of a pain in the bacteria. Not bacteria, posterior. God, I think I really, really need a really good sleep tonight. I'll tell you that much. Like anything else, the more you practice, the more instinctive it becomes. And it's just allowing those imperfections to be there, because in the grand scheme of things, when you put everything together, unless you point it out, people are unlikely to notice. Or if they do, they'll think it's deliberate. Because, we're human. And to be human is to be imperfect. Perfectly imperfect. I have to say, there's a kind of charm for me in creating patterns and variations. So that was quite a simple one. And you could go the other way and make it really, let's do that. So let's go the other way and make it really rectangular in this direction, is it? And I'm changing how I draw this one. So I'm going to this side. Still quite squarish, isn't it? I didn't really make it as long as I wanted to, but just by making it much bigger, we can get more of the, what do you call them? Repetitions inside. The square coils and curls, which that automatically makes it interesting, to my mind anyway. So I'm going to draw that one across, and I'm going to make this one as big as this section, just for fun. And let's see how this works out. Actually, it'd be the same kind of idea as this, but it's so much bigger. It's just going to look that little bit different. I said to myself, oh, it won't take me long to do this. My idea of time and length that it takes me to do things can be very skewed. So the difference that makes, from a shortest rectangle to a longish one, it might be something that's useful. If you've got a shape to fill in that's a squarish, rectangularish shape, then this could be something that's quite interesting. Okay, so we can do this with squares. What about other shapes? Let's start with a triangle. So there's my basic triangle. This last line I'm going to draw in almost up to that. Then I'm going to do exactly the same idea. I'm just working the same way, leaving a little gap between them. I'll come back to that little gap. I quite like the idea of putting these little caps on that gap just to enclose the space. You can leave them open, you can join them up completely if you wish. The choice is entirely yours, What could be interesting here, and I'm going to do this on this one, is if I leave a big gap at the bottom, and that should move the centre of gravity, that central part, further up. And of course, oh, I've got a little space left here, so we're going to have a very tall, narrow one, which is fine. Here. Perhaps if I So I've made the gaps at the top bigger and the ones on the bottom narrower. Okay, I've got triangular shapes the other side, so I'm going to start at the bottom here, and I'm going to create my triangle this way. So I am mirroring, I think, how I did that the other, like so. Do the same here. Oh, this is going to be fun. I've got big gaps at the bottom, and I'm going to continue to do big gaps at the pointy bit is down and keep the narrower bits at the top of this section, shifting that weight, that feeling of ink together. Oops. Oh, I've done that wrong, haven't I? Oops. No, no matter. No worry. We'll carry on as if we had. So this one is really close together at the bottom. So, oops. And then I've got half a one here. Like so. So triangles work. This idea you could use with the squares, and perhaps I'll put a row of squares over here, just like that. So there's the square, and I'm going to keep the lines to the left and top narrow, and the bottom and right wider. I've got to remember to do that. Can't do it while I'm talking. Like so. So let me just carry on here. I'm just creating that gap. There, narrow, wider, wider, narrow, narrow, wide, wide, narrow, narrow, wide. Oh, almost. Again here. Like so. And then I've got one more here to do. So these will all be quite narrow. Gosh, it's a lot easier to do the narrow and the wider version from that side. Over here, I think I might just pop in because I've got a triangle there. So we'll do a triangular one just to finish it off. Because it feels a shame not to do that, doesn't it? Just like that. So that shifted where the coil is inside. So play around with that as well. Isn't that fun? I quite like that. I like the idea that it feels that we're peering down a, well, to my mind, it almost feels like we're almost peering down a tunnel. And I think that will be helped if I was to create that dark hollow somewhere, like so. And the same here. Almost looks like we are. Of course, I can add that line weight as well, which will possibly help, should help. That's interesting. I didn't leave the gap there, did I? It shows that things just work. You don't really notice it. It's the overall patterning that you notice more than anything else. So I'll do that there. While I'm at it, while I'm here, I am going to draw some like this. But I'm trying to think, how can I? So if I take this one and go this way, so I've come down here. Now I need to go up. That's how it works. Well done, Angela. You finally got it. So I went up, so here now I need to come down, create that one there. I've worked it out, there we go. So on that line I came down, so this one I need to go from the bottom up and then work round the rest of the coil. So I went up, so this next one will be down. There we go. At last. Neurons firing slightly better, still need lots of tea. So down, so this one will be up. Just bring this in and round as well. I'll put that there. And I've got a couple of, I've got spaces here. I think what I'm going to do with this one is I am going to close these off, these little gaps, just to give something a little bit different and see how that works. I think it'll work perfectly fine, you know. It's going to tidy up the bottom by thickening the line, hopefully. There's no guarantee I'll make it any tidier and neater, mind you. But again, it's the left and the bottom is where I'm going to add line weight. I'm not worried about the number of coils round. If they're the same, they're the same. If they're different, they're different. Either way, all's going to be fine. Okay? All will be fine. I do think these, where these connect, they need to be weightier. There we go. Excuse me, I'm just going to blow my nose. It's a change in seasons. My house, I have windows closed because it's not icy cold out, but it's, I don't like being too cool, as it were. Here, I've got this shape, and I think I'm going to do a great big triangle, but I'm going to fill it in like this. Again, just taking that cue of the thicker lines towards the left and bottom. Well, I've got the points to the left, so that will do. And there we go. Perhaps they could be a bit thicker. Chunkier they are, the more dimensional they look, it's true. And chunky is all right. Chunky lines. Wobbly lines, chonky lines. There we are, chonky. Dear goodness. I do like the word chonky for something that's chubby and cute. Chunky. It's a cute version of chunky, isn't it? Chunky. Well, I think so. And then here, I think I might do the same here and just join these together and eliminate all of these gaps as if it's a border, as it were. You know what I mean? A solid border without the gaps in. Alternatively, I could have just put an aura around it. So that's working nicely. Okay, I've got more space to fill in. Notice I haven't done anything over here. I've left the gaps between them. Do I want to? No, I think I'm just going to connect them all as well, because I think that works best in some ways. It seems to work quite nicely. Even where I've left a gap between the coils rather than butting them up next to one another, I think just closing that gap makes for something that feels that little bit more like a ribbon. And I will join it down to the end there because it feels like it needs to be, just like the others. So remember, these variations here, they look different because they were deliberately done to be different. And I'm also going to fill the centre points in where these meet with a little triangle. Just the same as I did with the squares or the rectangles. You know, that little bit of ink there just makes that little bit of difference, that statement about this is the middle. Yeah. So that's something nice to do. Okay, so we've done, and I'm going to join these along the edges as well. So I've done this. Now the idea could go on to do things like, you know, we've done three-sided, four-sided, five-sided would work, six-sided would work, but the ideas are the same. Perhaps I'll do a hexagon here. Perhaps, yeah, let's have a look at hexagons. It's going to be interesting. Oh, look, it just fitted in nicely there. I'm quite skilled at drawing hexagons. Chemistry was one of the sciences I studied for my degree and through, school, and I taught chemistry. And you get to draw an awful lot of hexagons in chemistry. You really do, because there are a group of compounds called polyaromatics. Starts with benzene, which is basically a hexagon with a circle in. And you also have cyclohexane, so where the molecules are joined in a ring, but you don't draw them as a ring, because you draw them in a hexagon shape, because essentially that's what they would be. A bit wonky if you look at it in 3D. But at each corner you've got a carbon atom and something stuck to it. So it's all shorthand. It's a lot easier to draw than lots of letters and lines and things in. So you get to know what it is. So now we're doing something completely different. See where I started? Because I've drawn them interlinked, I chose a space here to start with my coil. And this time it's going to be a hexagon shaped coil. I'll just fill that in there, perhaps with a circle in the middle, a nod to benzene. Now I could start there the same. I could start at the bottom, but it would still be going clockwise. So I want to start anti-clockwise. So I'm choosing to start again at the top, but start on the right-hand side of the top of the hexagon. And just keep on going until we meet that, and then I'm going to do the same here. My inability to speak is that I'm dangerously close to losing my ability to do anything much. So we've now got hexagons, which is quite fun. And I will just put the start of another one in here. And of course, this one would be like so. And I will just fill that edge in down to there. So it looks like that ribbon is going along. So it works that way as well. We could do, instead of straight squares, we could do parallelograms, slanted squares or diamond shapes. Same idea, I'm doing them as enclosed shapes and just putting this coil inside. And this one would work okay here. Again, I'm just going to imagine that I'm just like so, and then we'd have another bit here, and that would just go up to there. So we can slant them that way. And of course, I could also go, and I'm going to slant them this way underneath. And I'm going to kind of mirror this by reflecting it top to bottom. So it's like I've got a reflection here. So starting where the lines meet. So starting to build up grid patterns as well. And the next one would go, we have a look, it would go this way. Like so, I guess. And we'll start to get that kind of hilly kind of pattern going on, which is quite cute. So these can be done as grid patterns. If you think of each one of these as, in Zentangle terms, as a fragment or a basic unit of a pattern, we can do plenty of patterns of that kind. So I'm just reaching over, excuse me a moment, so you'll hear me rattling going on, because I want to erase some pencil lines here. So I've got a kneadable eraser for so I don't have dust and stuff everywhere. But let's get rid of all the pencil lines that I can, because I don't need them anymore. As the weather's changing and the days are getting longer, I'm beginning to hanker after hearty, I say hearty meals, but warming meals, comforting meals. So things like soups and stews and so on. So I had sort of like, I had breakfast in two bits. I had some dry mini shredded wheat. So wheat's filled with blueberry. Absolutely delicious. I prefer them dry. I like the crunch. And with a couple of, I actually had coffee today, so pints. So I've had about 2 pints of very weak coffee, weak and milky, to go with it. So it gets combined with liquid in my tummy, you know. But the crunch is so wonderful. So just some examples there of how you just play with it, and you can make the shapes wonky as well. But what I thought I'd do here, come on, pencil, behave. So I'm going to draw that border in again. There's no way I was going to try and stop myself from doing it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very wobbly grid. And let's see what happens if we put these amblers in here. And I am going to make sure that I've got complete shapes. Some of them will be triangular, and that's fine by me. Some won't be. Not too many of them, but let's see what happens. And I'm going to join these together. So I am going to start with the shape. I'm going to just draw these in pen. And I'm going to use those shapes to fill in with that kind of coil we've been doing, because I think that'll work quite nicely. I was thinking it'd be quite interesting if I did do this as a booklet to accompany the video series. And you could get it then from, probably make it available at Ko-fi. But I could put the video addresses on, couldn't I? The web addresses for the videos. Print them underneath. So you could find the video that goes with this particular page and follow along. Be interesting. Maybe. I don't know. You're going to have to let me know, because I will forget about this. So as I talk, and I don't always remember what I've said, you know. Now, I've adjusted some of those lines just for fun, because, you know, the others were just a guide. And I am going to erase the pencil line before I start doing anything else. Will I get to shading or adding colour? Who knows? I don't. But let's start here. So I'm going to start I'm going to start from the bottom up on the left. So this is my natural way of drawing. And with this, I'm going to just keep them all, the lines more or less equal in distance between them. Part of me wants to leave a big middle, but I'm not going to. Because that could be fun to complete that square there, and it's almost like you've got somewhere to put a gem. In fact, I'm going to do that there, and I'm going to add some black there while I'm at it. Because I do like that. There's something about it that says we're going downwards, perhaps, or going up. I don't know. Choice is yours. So I'm going to do this one in the same way, except this one now is a triangle. But the method of drawing is exactly the same, and I'm just going to come back there and give myself a nice little triangle in the middle. This is a square, and I'm going to do them in all the same way, where I start at the bottom left of each section little way out, and I'm just going to draw these in to stop myself getting very confused with mirroring and everything else, because my brain definitely is not firing on all cylinders. I'm beginning to feel it. I think the adrenaline or the energy I found from somewhere to do my Welsh class, and then this is beginning to wane. But it's okay, I haven't got anything else I have to do today. So that'll be more of a square there, because it was more of a square shape. There we go. This one's interesting. It's a very wobbly wonky shape. Isn't that fun? I think so. And I am turning this because I've got a lot of curves to do here, and once I've got them set in place, it won't be so bad. I'm still drawing this one, moving my pen from left to right because that's the direction I prefer to draw in generally. And look at that, I've made a little hourglass shape in there that just reflects that shape of the space, doesn't it? That's rather fun. Okie dokes. Next one. Another wonky shape. It is a kind of triangle shape, but it's got some wonderful curviness going on, hasn't it? So I am going to move my paper a little bit just to help me get that bottom line here. Just thinking that some of these pages I'm going to colour using distress inks, so it's not just plain, well, slightly off-white in this case. Get down to the middle and we can just fill that in. I like them filled in the middle, I do. It adds something to it rather than just this end line that just ends. That's my preference. I have thought, perhaps I'll do this somewhere along here, almost doing something like a cross between Ambler and DeviantArt, but with little blobs and things like that. But I thought, no, I'm going to stick with this because that would work. Well, it would work either way, whether you work from the outside in or the inside out. But I'm not sure I've got spaces that are big enough to show it off to its best. But it's something you could try as well if you wanted to. If you want me to try it, well, let me know. You know me, I might do that while the video's doing what it needs to do before I upload it. And then I'm going to go away and leave it get on with it. Hopefully it won't take like 4 or 5 hours as it has done before. And I am aware this is a long video. I'm also aware I need to turn off my OneDrive sharing so that it won't upload the video or whatever. I think that's what slows it down because it uploads to 2 spaces at once, and yeah, there's not a lot I can to remember to do that. So what I've got here is a page full of Ambler, and or nearly a page full, and it's all looking interesting and different. This is making my eyes go funny even though I'm not staring at it. It's almost like a weird optical illusion going on here, which is fun. That's going to be fun to add shading to. And I'm treating these shapes on the edge as if they're individual shapes. So we've got mixtures of squarish shapes and not squarish shapes. And of course, I could have gone completely, totally bonkers with the grid that I've used and drawn lines at different angles, so I got even weirder shapes. But I thought, oh, let's keep it simple. As I'm having trouble speaking, what I might do is on the back of this sheet is actually add these kinds of ideas. in words. So I was only planning on using one side of each sheet, just in case. Don't really want to do two sides, though no doubt there may be some tangles that I may not want to do as well, or that might want more space devoted to them for whatever reason. Because that happens as well. There may be so many variations that you can do. And you know me, I love my variations. It gives your imagination, your creativity a little bit of a workout. It gives you a starting point. So you're not having to come up with anything brand new as such. It's just what can you do with it to create something new and different? Or what kinds of things can I use this for? This is not a tangle I would have chosen to use. It's not something I'd use in my own personal work, I don't think. But you never say never, because, who knows what's going to happen in the future. But the fact that it's something I wouldn't ordinarily chosen has made it an interesting adventure. Oh, this is an interesting shape here, because I've still got a little bit of a square bit at the bottom there, which is going to disappear now and become all triangular. But that's fine. So that's my page full of Ambler. And I'm leaving that blank there. I am going to fill in the inside bits of these because I just think the black there will help to avoid looking like the lines are connecting. It puts a stop in, doesn't it, and says I'm different to you. So let me just do that. Drawing things is always a bit of a dance, where you dance around from one part to another and add things or change things slightly, or split it up into different into so you're not split the activity, the task up into smaller bits so that you're not overwhelmed by it, or your mind becomes tired and you make silly mistakes. I came here with a tired mind and I've made mistakes, but I eventually have worked out what I'm doing. So this is my big page. Okay, shading. So let me just go and get. I've got a big thing of stuff to shady with. Carin brush markers. I have got Ecoline markers. I've got Pitt Artist pens, but I haven't got any grey ones, I don't think, in here. Have I? I've got that one, but it's a bit dark. So I'm going to find a Carin brush marker that is fancy warm grey today. I'll find a warm grey. That's neutral grey. Neutral. A lot of use in it. It's a cool grey, didn't it? Cool grey. That's a warm grey. And she says I do have a water brush. So I'm going to be able to add this and hopefully spread it out. So my job here is it may not work the way I want it to, which means I may just end up using it to colour in. But what I've done is I've put the shadow in the bottom left corner. I'm just going to move it up and out so that I have that shadow almost across the middle bit, just like that. It's grey, but it just feels so much nicer than other greys. I did want it more watercolory, I suppose, and with a softer edge. And perhaps a bit of texture from it. I'm going to put shadow here because I want the shadow underneath the paper there, as if it's going underneath, because that would make some sense, wouldn't it? Am I going to do all of this on video? No. No, I'm not. I'll carry on doing this later on, but I just wanted to come back and show perhaps how I do this. in some ways, because I quite like this kind of diagonalness that brings out the highlights. I'm not going to try and put highlights on because the paper is basically white. Some of this is, I need some tissue. There we are, got some. Don't worry, it's not the one I blew my nose in, honest. There's always tissue around here for watercolours and the like. I think I need to keep the watercolour closer to the bottom and then just blend it out gently. That's okay. So that's one way of doing that, and you get quite a stark contrast. Another way would just be to choose to put it along two sides perhaps, and just simply add this here as if they are overlapping one another a little bit. And yet I am using the water brush just to soften the edges and to fill in any gaps, because I prefer a softer edge. It can spill over, blend out a little bit, and just create that, feeling that we've got almost like steps going on here, isn't it? I'm fine with that. And I quite like it at the bottom because it gives that shading there as well. I haven't done anything with the little ones yet. I'll come back to those. But these are the principles I'm going to use generally, I think. But we may do something a bit different with some of them. So, not sure what I'd do with this one. It may be that I just put some shading underneath the parts that are in shadow. So there and there, there and there. And a little bit on that side as well. So bottom left, there's a lefty there, left and bottom there. So in this case, I am just drawing this colour on and allowing it to be what it wants to be. Okay, so that's enough. There's some, it's overspilled in places, but that's okay. So I'm just going to go back and deliberately use the brush just to move that a little bit. In fact, I'm surprised it's moving, given that it's dried on the paper. But that just adds that shading there. The other thing I would like to do is these ones. I think I'm going to keep this simple, as if this is a complete pattern. So I'm going to put shadow on where I think the shadow would be, because this one is more, if you look at it this way, this is more that we've got a left and a bottom here. It's not the top really. And this one is left and bottom as well. So let me just clean that off so I can just blend this just that little bit. And I'll leave the ties as they are. And that works quite nicely. What I want to do with these ones, is I think I'm going to add quite a bit of shadow to the centre and just bring it out. Not all the way, but a little way, so that we have some shading around that darker area. I'm trying with this, I'm using how much space this takes up, or how big the area is, to how wide I put that ink on, and just see what happens. And I think that would work quite nicely, to be honest. Even if you don't get it perfect, it's not an issue. It's not like we've got perfectly concentric shapes here, because they are getting, it's one line, isn't it? It's working out, where do you start with this and where do I finish? It's just the impression that the centre's darker than the outside. So it's giving that feeling that we're going inwards. So I'll just do one more, and hopefully you'll see better than I can how this is working or not working. But it's just an idea. And like everything, ideas are there for us to try. You know, this is a chance to explore things and learn more about, yes, I can do these things. no, I don't like this. I, I can try something else. We've got that there. This one, I am just going to do it as if it's a ribbon. So I'm going to put shading on either side, just like so. I'm going to put some at the bottom, some at the top, and I'm then going to use my brush just to move it out and soften the edges. So my water brush is acting like a tortillon, if you will, and the watercolour ink is working like the graphite. And yes, it's grey, but it's not a shiny grey. It's got a different quality to it. I would prefer the blue grey, actually, thinking about it. But there we've got something that looks more like a ribbon. And I could do that with everything. This one here, I really want to bring those areas of creasing out. I'm going to put some shadow there, but I really want to feel that I've got a dip here. And all I'm going to do is just soften that ink just out a little bit, as if we've got that bit in shadow and the next bit is highlighted. So it's like that's dipping down, that's coming out and catching the light again and so on. So that's quite fun. So I haven't finished. I will do. I'll leave everything out. But this is my Inktober Tangles Day 1, Page 1, Ambler by Zentangle Ink with variations and a little bit of stuff. And as I said, this is what I enjoy doing. So I will finish this and I will post an image of it on social media along with the link to the video and any wittering I want to do about the experience. I'll try and remember to make notes on the back of ideas I've had. I think I've already forgotten, and there's no way I'm going to watch my video to find out. So if there's anything in particular you want to see, please let me know, and I will. And the same for any particular patterns or tangles you might like me to tangle, because I've had a look at the list of tangles for Inktober, and some of them just don't inspire me, which is fine because sometimes that happens. But I prefer to work with things that inspire you. So just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. So thank you for joining me. Have fun with this. I'd love to see what you do, so don't be afraid to tag me in social media. You can ask, leave me a message where I visit. I may pick it up eventually. I'm not very good at remembering to, but I try my best. And I look forward to seeing you again, most probably tomorrow. If not, there may be a couple of videos or a couple of patterns in one video. So until then, take care. Hwyl fawr. Bye bye.